Hi, VJ, and this is Michael from OTC, OnlineTOEFLCourse.com, and you sent me an independent writing practice test, right? So I got it right here. I'm going to give you 3.75 out of 5, 24 points out of 30. If you look at the rubrics, there's a couple of things in here I want you to be a little bit careful about here. Let me think about it. So it says addresses a topic using somewhat developed explanations. You have some inconsistent facility in sentence formation and word choice. So I think the main thing that could make a big difference in the score is teachers were more appreciated and valued in society by society in the past than they are nowadays. So you could say with the topic sentence here, teachers are valued more today because they're making a greater impact on child's education by gathering information from various sources which were not accessible in the past. So I think you need to take these topics and connect it back to the actual writing prompt, and that's going to give you a little bit better organization of ideas and one that it better responds to this idea. Okay, so let me help you with some grammar corrections. I'm going to work on just one paragraph. I've seen this come up in different essays that you've written, right? So some say that in olden days teachers were highly respected and given utmost importance because you can't say because of. Because of is a preposition, but if you just get rid of this and say because they have abundant knowledge, excellent teaching skills, and you might say maybe alluring, attractive face-to-face interactions. So you're having some trouble with connectors. Now, whereas is a subordinator, right? So here you need to use however. However, others argue that modernized society is still continuing because you have the be, right? Be plus the present participle still continue to acknowledge and admire teachers because their value is irreplaceable. The value is irreplaceable. I'm going to put they have effective teaching methods and they offer unique counseling methods. Hence, I believe that the contemporary world is acknowledging and giving high-end respect along with earlier generations because of invaluable skills and deliberations to students, which is why I disagree with this statement. This is good. You're connecting this back to the writing prompt, right? But you need to do more of this in the body paragraphs. Now, let me go over this. This is where I want to help you a little bit here. I'm going to give you a quick presentation on different kinds of words. So we have, let's say, however, we have whereas for direct contrast, we have but, and then maybe we have despite, or we can say in spite of. Now, what I'm trying to show you here is these connectors, they basically have the same meaning in terms of the logical relationship that they present with the sentences, but they don't work necessarily the same here. So let's take that sentence that you wrote here. Okay, so let's do this. We'll say, some say teachers were respected more in the past. Then you'll say, however, others argue that educators are more respected Okay, so we have this idea here. Okay, let's put it in red here where you can pay attention to it. Okay, first of all, we have what's called however. However is a transition word. It's used to connect separate sentences together to show a contrast. So some say teachers were respected more in the past. However, others argue that educators are more respected in contemporary society. Okay, so we'll call this a transition word. When you use this type of word, you have here, this is the main idea here, and then this is also considered a main point because they're separate sentences. Now, let's take this same sentence and use it with whereas. This is what you're having trouble with. You're not sure what word is what and how it works grammatically. So in this case, notice how we put a comma. So we have some say that teachers were respected more in the past, whereas others argue that educators are more respected in contemporary society. You see the difference here? There's a period, then you have however, then a comma. Here, you have a comma, whereas, and the rest of that sentence. Now, however is used to show a relationship of two separate sentences. Whereas shows a relationship of two ideas within the same sentence. So we have to look at this part of the sentence as a dependent clause or a support idea, right? And we call this a subordinating conjunction. Now let's take this idea and let's see how it's expressed with but. In this case, we're going to substitute it here. Let's get rid of this. So some say teachers were respected more in the past, but others argue that educators are more respected in contemporary society. So when we're using the coordinating conjunction, so when you're using but, this is what's called one of the FANBOYS, right? Easy to remember coordinating conjunctions in the English language, right? You have for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. It's called one of the FANBOYS. So when you're doing TOEFL writing and you want to create a compound sentence, just remember one of the FANBOYS. That'll help you remember that you can use those words to connect sentences together. Now the last one is a little bit difficult. We're going to have to make some drastic changes, I think, to make this one work. But in spite of, it's what we call a preposition. Some say teachers were respected more in the past. It might be better to put let's say, okay, how about this? In spite of the fact that some it might be less obvious. In spite of the fact that teachers, according to some people, here I got it. So in spite of the fact that teachers, according to some people, were respected more in the past, others argue that educators are more respected in contemporary society. So in this case, we're using in spite of, and it introduces this particular noun here. So you have to look at this as a preposition. In spite of the fact that teachers, according to some people, were respected more in the past, others argue that educators are more respected in contemporary society. Now, what I'm saying is, what you did in your writing, you tried to use this word, which is called a subordinating conjunction. You tried to use it like this word above, which is a transition word. But these two different types of connectors have different grammatical structures. Now what I want you to do is, now that I presented them to you, transition words, subordinating conjunctions, coordinating conjunctions, and prepositions, I want you to go over to my online TOEFL course, and it's speaking lesson number 7. It's called How to Make Your Speaking and Writing More Coherent. Now in that lesson, I actually categorize, I have a pretty good list of transition words. I have another list of subordinating conjunctions, specifically noun clause, adjective clause, and adverb clause connectors. And then I have the list of coordinating conjunctions, so you can see them, how they're categorized. I even again show you in the lesson how to use each category of words grammatically. So that's the one thing I want you to do right now. I want you to develop better control over the types of connective words that you're using. Make sure that you understand how transition words have different grammatical structures than subordinating conjunctions. And then how coordinating conjunctions have different grammatical structures than subordinators. And then how prepositions have different grammatical structures than the other two. You remember how you said because of, and then you put subject and verb there? See, you're confusing because of, which is a preposition, you're confusing that with a subordinating conjunction. So I think if you improve your knowledge of the different connectors, that's going to help you improve your sentence structure also. All right, so thank you for doing this writing practice test.